they had a deal on their detailing, so where they can vacuum in between the seats where who knows what's fallen down. So, anyways, their computer system is down. Their computer system and there's it was on the news this morning in the car industry. Um, they've been hacked and there's ransomware. So there's just like they did with London Drugs, right?
I
Did
don't
you
know.
hear what happened with London Drugs?
I don't think so.
Oh my word. London Drugs was shut down for about a week and they were held ransom for like $12 million something. So
I'm
these,
out of the loop.
yeah, what's going on? I'll send it to you. But anyways, yeah, I don't understand how we don't, like, if people can break into like the Pentagon and all this stuff, I don't know how, if they have, I don't know how we're not smarter to stop that. Anyway, I don't know. I'm
Uh,
not that much of a techie, right?
Me neither. I don't know, but I think there's something in the air. My main
Yep.
job, we've had computer, well, we're doing an upgrade. I'm not going to even say anything else. I'm pretty sure we all know what that represents. And then, yeah, my last meeting. So, any of my members who are joining us today, I have successfully put all your weights in but one, and I'm going to figure that last one out after our wonderful, spectacular get together today. Super happy to be here. Ah, deep breath. It's a
Yeah.
long weekend coming.
And
Happy Canada Day soon.
and so in saying that, we're just talking about like how whatever's going on with these hackers, whatever they can do and get away with, which is blows my mind that the the governments, the biggest governments of the world, don't know how to stop it. Just saying that, right? And
Right.
so a couple of weeks ago, London Drugs was hacked nationally, and they couldn't operate their systems. And actually, the hackers had all the private information of customers and their employees. And they were asking for several $1 million. London Drugs said no. So they said we can't do this, right? And so they ended up with it. Sorry, what's going on here? I got some weird thing going on my phone. But same thing just happened with cars, with car lots. So I don't know what's going on with this stuff. It's bizarre, but so forget sun flares and solar flares and all that. The fact that they're not going to break into you or me, Michelle. We're not worth it.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. That's
So,
right.
anyways, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Mm, it's just good to stop and take a deep breath sometimes. Appreciate the moment, right? That's right. Very good. I do a weekly newsletter through Sarnia Rocks. Everybody's welcome to sign up if you like. But I always do like a coach's corner sort of thing on there. And this week I meant it's not long. I mentioned about just the power of sitting with the sun in your face. Right? It just made me think of that when you said that. Just because I think I mentioned that last week. It's something I've been doing to reset myself, right? Is just sit out in the sun for 10 minutes with my eyes closed,
Yeah.
no glasses on. And yeah, and that would be weird. And yeah, it has been good. So yeah, good. You know what? I have no this or that questions for you this week.
Okay. And in that, going back to what Michelle's mentioning about, it's interesting to me that first of all, the whole thing about creating a habit, right? So
Yeah.
if something's new, and here we can put this in the chat. Welcome people we have joining us. Um, like, is it harder to quit a bad habit or is it harder to start a good habit?
Well, I think it's equal.
It would depend, right?
Yeah. It's funny because last week, that was, oh, I'm gonna have a seizure now.
I was just cleaning. Sorry.
Housekeeping. Last week, we were actually talking about that. Everything takes a cue.
Yeah.
So you have a cue to create a new habit, and then you want to maybe remove a cue. Like I can see the chips from here. That might be a cue, right? So cues are very important. They're what triggers you, right?
Yeah.
to do.
And it's an interesting thing to, like, so getting older, pondering is great. I think there was a Far Side comic years ago in the newspaper, and it was this guy on top of a hill, like having hands out, and he was pondering the universe, right?
Right.
And the challenges we live, this goes back to what you said about taking a breath, slowing down. Um, we seriously, like Michelle just jumped on. She was busy, crazy technical days. I've been on the computer. I think I've had um, 3 teams meeting and training meetings today. I don't like being on the computer that long, right? And you're
Yeah.
the same way, right?
Yeah.
So, but part of it is go back to, remember we talked before about decluttering. So
Yes.
there's something about, like, life feels full enough as it is, right? So
Right.
there's no more hours in the day. We can't create that. But part of this, and this is why I said about starting a good habit, leaving a bad habit,
Right.
is I actually really believe, for some people, think one could be easier, one could be harder. It depends, right? Depends on the habit, depends on whatever.
I totally agree. That's
Yeah.
right.
But we have the ability to do that. So when we talked about decluttering, it's actually important. I think it's important to, we talked about decluttering our homes, and like, if we haven't used something for 10 years, maybe we don't need it, right? It's the same,
Right.
right? So,
Absolutely.
so there's something, if you want to think about this now, when we get into influencers and influencing, is think about, what are things, so we're coming up to Canada Day. So we're going to use Canada Day as like the start until next Canada Day.
Okay.
It's not January 1st, I'm cheating, right? But think about something this weekend and it's something, don't think of, well, it could be practical, but I'm more thinking of, think of something in your life, think of what a goal is. You go, okay, I'm hoping to do ABC. And give it some thought to think, if I got to put something in, I need to take something out. It doesn't have to be really big. And the reason I'm saying that is I would advocate to put into your day, either in the morning or I mean, if you can put it morning, at lunch, and at evening, you're going to be a rock star. You need to put in, I'm advocating for this, you need to put in a 5 minute, at least a 5 minute, we'll say, time of shutting down, shut everything off, closing your eyes, focusing on your breath, letting the sunshine hit you. It's been rainy here all day, so the sunshine is great, but I can just de-stress, let it all out. Good
Right.
idea?
Great idea. And would you agree, the more we do it, the easier and more natural it gets,
Yeah. 100%.
right? Yeah,
100%.
exactly right. It's another, like I say that all the time. It's like the muscle you're flexing in your brain, right? Or in your memory or whatever. Yeah, and then you'll find, because this is what I use for a tool, and I haven't been meditating as much as I like to, but maybe that's something I need to bring back. But when you like, when I find when I meditate quite a bit, then what happens is I can be in the dentist office, and dentist is just a random thing, but I'm not a fan of pain. So I can be in the dentist office and I can literally do that. And I don't care if people see me with my eyes closed, but I can like go right into a calm state because I flex that muscle enough that I'm not even thinking about what the dentist is going to do. I'm just like, doing
Did
my,
you do that in the waiting room or in the chair?
I do that in all of the above, but the waiting room, yep, absolutely.
So you don't engage with people in the waiting room?
Well, I would if there's people there. A lot of times, I'm chatty McChat. So
Yeah.
a lot of times I find I'm in there alone. And I don't know if that's the way, like there's only one dentist where I go. So it's not like the ones like Nicole goes to one with 5 dentists. So
Right.
the room's always pretty, not mine. Mine, it's actually, they had a replacement dentist and I went in one day and he's sitting beside me and I didn't know. And I'm just chatting him up. And then they call my name and we both got up together.
That's so funny. Well, it's funny, and for those that social interaction is, you're shyer. We'll say, there's a nice way. Some of us are just shyer, right?
Yeah,
And I said
of course.
before, I'm shyer. When I was younger, I was not like this.
Do.
I've grown into,
I
maybe
totally,
this is what I was meant to be, right?
I
But
agree.
I was telling Michelle, so our mom had to go in the hospital this week, and just out of whatever, right? Okay, and my mom won't be on here, and she knows I love her, so I can say this. She's got to talk to everybody. She,
Oh,
she's
that's
got to
how I
tell
know I'm
everybody what a
her.
great son I am. I
Oh, I
hate,
didn't go that far.
I hate it. Where I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm just whatever, right? But it's interesting, and we're all social, and some like
Yeah,
we like to de-stress, and me and Michelle talk about we just after our day full of people, we want to come home and zone out from the TV. That's kind of what we do,
that's
right?
right. Yeah,
But the thing is, isn't it not interesting that first of all, we're all influencers. We'll talk about
we are.
actual influence. I'm gonna start with this thing. And this is Michelle was this was well, no, we came out of it together last time. Never underestimate the influence you have on others.
That's right.
And so my mom, now maybe she talked to some people that want to be quiet. They're in pain. We're in emergency, right? And but
Right.
then some people who needed that distraction, like Michelle was talking about,
That's
some
right.
they just need somebody to talk to. So people were like, I can because I pay attention. I could see the people that were like not they're never rude, but they were like they had this way of like, okay, great, thanks, and moving on, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But I thought in that, the right or wrong, they're an influencer. If you like Donald Trump or not, he's an influencer. I just watched one of the most horrible things I've seen on Disney, and it was about Jimmy Jones, Jonestown,
Yeah.
about and I know about it, but seeing this and seeing like getting like maybe better information from the son and some people who survived, like there's
Sure.
components I didn't know, and we were talking about influencers.
My old day.
It was like how do we when we give over our trust, when we give over our trust enough, because out of the 900 people that died, half of them willingly
Yeah.
drank or took a needle. And then a lot of those went to the ones who didn't want to and injected them, right? So it was just, but I'm going like, oh my word, like I don't know. Like I say this, I think me and Michelle are smart. I think you guys are smart. Would you let somebody influence you until to death or to give away like isn't that
I don't know. That's such a hard thing. And I find because I'm a real documentary person and I've watched some documentaries on that. I also watched some really an interesting one years ago, and it was on Hitler's nurses and the babies that they killed. And because they were seeking the perfect child. And they were so convinced, like some of them committed suicide during their trials when
yeah,
they had that aha moment that they were duped.
yeah.
And not to get my tinfoil hat out because I haven't made it yet, but I'm working on it. But look at the last couple years. I mean, just in our own society with our own government. And I'm not going down that road, but I'm just saying you see it like where you see the voice of authority, you believe that this is going to help you, whatever it is. And then now we're in live time looking at the unraveling of maybe this, and again, I don't want to get into it, but now we're seeing a lot of things come out that maybe that wasn't accurate information, or maybe somebody put the cart before the horse, but we blindly followed, right? So it is so true. And it's so interesting, like, especially with this topic, because I have a video, it's already, and it's more about social media influencers, but it's like your influencers are everywhere, right?
Yeah,
There, and it's funny, I saw a post years ago and it really resonated with me. Your first bully in your life, bully slash influencer, is your mom.
interesting.
It is, isn't it? And it's accurate. I was my children's own first bully, first influencer, whether right, wrong, or different,
It
right?
would be, and see, and I love this word because me and Michelle, or I don't know, I've convinced her, I've influenced her about what are my two words?
Michelle's
perspective,
awesome. What?
awesome and awesomeness. Yeah. Perspective and perception, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Right.
it's interesting when Michelle said that, I'm thinking of going, and I'm in a place where I'm like a 5-year-old child who doesn't like who's trying to figure out the world, right?
Right.
And I'm going like, man, when you said that, I'm thinking that is such an interesting thing. And like what you're saying is like absolutely true. And mom could be a good or a bad influence. Dad, we were talking dads before, like I'm in my 60s, so before that, dads had no paternal majority,
Yeah.
had no paternal in influencing the kids. It was all mom.
That's right.
So how did that affect? But here's what I was going to say about the tinfoil hat, but we'll leave it for next one. We'll both wear one.
Yeah, I'm gonna seriously.
I have a really good friend of mine, a very good friend of mine. So, and I'm sharing the story not to do with conspiracy and government, all that. That, like Michelle, that can go on for 2 years.
Yeah.
I have a friend who his family were so divided on COVID.
Yeah.
And my friend believed, this is a good friend of mine. This is not a cuckoo guy. This is got his own business. This is a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends. He believed that if you got a vaccine, and he was paranoid for his kids, and he's wise. He believed that you would die within a year, and that was kind of a kind of the government, and he believed that.
Yep.
Through some information.
Yep.
But see, we become influenced in a way, not as a child, because that's interesting. We are more easily influenced by the things that resonate with us.
If the algorithm that
if you don't believe,
yeah,
like it's harder to convince them. If you try to, you eat meat, right? You have a hot dog and a bologna sandwich and a chicken once in a while, right?
Boneless, skinless chicken all the time.
So if I try to convince you, influence you to be a vegan, kind of hard.
Terrible.
Kind of hard. And me and Michelle talked a bit about faith. The whole thing about faith, what drives me nuts, like just drives me nuts, is if you want to influence somebody, don't tell them what to do. Tell them about your story and your convictions and what's important to you. Mm-hmm. By the way, that's what mom did when she raised us. Don't touch the stove. It's hot. Don't, you know what I mean, right?
Right.
And wait till your father gets home. Ooh, now I'm scared of that. Ooh. And dad's already not around, really.
Yeah.
Right. So I love that. I'm going to investigate more just for my own personal thing. But anyways, go on. Tell us about influencing.
Yeah. So, okay. So, well, I think it's good that we start with the video. So like I said, the video, okay, I am going to do a few things. One, when we're done everything tonight, I'm going to send it to you because I know you're going to want Emily to watch it. I'm going to actually sit down with Alice and watch it. Maybe Gemma, I don't know. I'll also send it to Nicole. So if you have a youth in your life, boy or girl, doesn't matter. I recommend you share it. But I think when you see it, it's just going to reflect on all people who we think are voices of authority. Okay, so let's share. And like I say, all the youth should watch it, especially the girls. I'm sure the boys do, but they're more gaming, like Xavier Games. He doesn't follow YouTubers, right? So that's a little bit of a different thing. Okay, so hold on. Got it. And volume. Thank you. Oh, sorry, we want it big.
Yourself comfortable. Welcome.
Thank you.
How do I want to sit? This.
Water there. You need a drink.
I don't want to ruin the lipstick.
Oh yeah.
Social media can be good, but it can be bad as well.
In terms of her building her confidence, it can build her confidence.
Margie is just trying to find herself now, you know. She's not influenced by social media yet.
Most of the influencers that I've seen have definitely had a positive impact on me.
Hey guys, here's a beauty hack I'm obsessed with. I am so happy. Look at how cinched my waist is.
Look at how flat my stomach is.
It's the shortcut to flawless skin.
You know that Botox doesn't just reduce wrinkles, right? Baby Botox is amazing. You're never too young to start.
That is not me.
There are these great powders. They stop you feeling hungry so you can always skip breakfast and lunch.
And you have to treat yourself to a chemical peel. They're a total glow up. They burn away the top layers of your skin and let new skin grow through.
Hey, Mojo. If your teeth are uneven, you can always file them down with a nail file. It's literally so simple.
File your teeth.
Don't put up with your thin lips, sweetie. Lip filler kits let you inject yourself at home. They're my total go-to.
Fake eyelashes are so easy to glue on if you cut your eyelashes off.
There's some really great pills you can use.
Keep telling yourself you're not hungry, you're just thirsty.
Never look bloated again.
Book it into your skin.
Sexiest lashes.
Botox.
Remember, skinny is never finished.
Oh.
It's
Have you actually seen stuff like that?
yeah, a lot. This stuff is on every girl's feed. They're watching, right? I mean, at night when I can't see them.
It's scary to me that my kids are watching this and they think that's how they have to look.
I saw one of the teeth filing videos. I remember that one. I remember seeing that all over. I know this stuff. I can't prevent them from seeing these, but I can talk to them about it.
100% always be talking. And have Peyton know that she can always ask me anything.
My mom has taught me not to listen to people like that and to be proud of who I am.
Pretty deep, eh?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when you're thinking of that, think about that, like that. And it's funny. So I watched this actually probably about a year ago. Just within the last 6 months, I've seen Alice, age 9, my granddaughter. She follows different people. And I hear her sometimes, hear it from the other room sometimes. It's sexually mature for the stuff that she needs to be listening to at 9. Yeah. There's bad information. And so I said to her one day, you know, Nana has a YouTube channel, right? And she goes, yeah, I know. And I said, so it's important that you know that anybody, any human can have one. And just because they have a YouTube channel, it doesn't mean they're giving good information. And then I don't know, maybe I elaborated on that a little bit, but I think it's the same with us in general, whether it's like anybody who's influencing you on anything. It can be somebody with a sign, it could be somebody running an ad, it could be somebody that claims to be a science team. I watched a thing, I've been watching, this is not my thing usually, but I've been catching quite a few Dr. Phil episodes. He's doing his own thing on his own. And he was saying, this gentleman, oh my gosh, they're having this conversation on Diet Coke. This guy was claiming that Diet Coke has helped him lose weight. Okay, we're not going to discuss aspartame and all sorts of things with Diet Coke. It is better than some other things, but he was drinking 2 gallons a day. And then he also, it's so interesting, he was doing some really good work on his own. He was giving all the credit to Diet Coke. He was working out every day, doing all sorts of great stuff. But then he brought 24, I think, something like that, a high amount of studies forward with him. And he presented them. They researched every one. They were financed by Coca-Cola. So when you think about anything going on in your life that's influencing you, it's that source. That's why I thought, I mean, everybody should share that video. but I think that source is so important. Like, what's the source? Even when we think about if something's good, so thinking about other people's emotions. So if I have a really good thing happen to me today, and certain people in my life who I feel are influencers are not cheering me on, or thinking that instead of it was my hard work, I'm lucky, or do you know what I mean? Things like that, or presenting something as, well, I did something this way, you have to do something that way. Like, I think that giving the credit to Diet Coke versus it was his exercise and his other habits that
Well, and there was a show, I think it was on Netflix. It was a documentary about the guy who ate McDonald's for a year.
Oh, absolutely, the Super Size Me guy.
Yeah, but what I was saying back to about my friends
Yeah,
who believed that you were going to die. He believed there was chemicals in there that was going to kill you. So he believed. After a year, so when his family got vaccinated, which was hard on their family, they're still together and all that, but very, very hard. Interesting, the different conviction levels and how you have to work in a marriage, but in society, right?
right.
And so when I didn't die and people didn't die, it had to shift his framework a little bit. So, and he's, like I said, a solid dude, right? But I'm not saying he thought we were going to die. So leaving that there. Maybe we're still going to die. I don't know, right? But here's what I was going to say, Michelle.
Yeah.
Leaving that aside, and this is to do with algorithms and all this stuff.
Yeah.
We become influenced. Like once we have a certain way of, like, if you have a conspiracy mind, I do and I don't. Like, I'm intrigued by stuff. I'm not like I watch alien shows, like whatever. Like I don't, speaking of Jimmy Jones, I don't drink the Kool-Aid type of thing, which is a horrible saying to say. Somebody said on the show, right? But I feel I have some maturity and I understand balance, and I understand what you just said, that we have, everybody's an expert. And here's the thing is, if you look at something, you're going to get, I pick on my mom, who will never be on here, which is good. All of her information comes from Fox News.
Right.
So anything else that has to do with her online, this is TV and online, it is filtered through the Fox News narrative, right?
Right.
Right. So back to my friend, and then we'll leave that. He had to reset his mindset, and like, even though he still has concerns, still has concerns, but it's shifted. So the reason I'm saying that, the video you just shared, how many people do we know? And my encouragement, like, so a sidebar we'll maybe talk about, don't be paranoid. And here's the thing is, Michelle said this earlier, we have influence on our kids. So, but we may not be the influence they want in the moment, but you know what? It just takes speaking out of our love and concern, little bit by little bit. Like Michelle said, she didn't go beat somebody up, talked about it. I'm in sales. I do very, very well in sales. You know why? Because I'm not a pushy salesperson. I'm not aggressive. I share because I understand their end, right? So I think with influencing, you can find 5 dentists that says fluoride's good, 5 that say it's bad.
That's right.
And 5 that say it's good, maybe be paid a little bit of money. No, joking. Well, probably, but
no, that's true. That's
true. You know, I know, but see, the influencers leaving the YouTube and our kids, because I almost interviewed my son on talking an 18-year-old kid, right? Boy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this is the crappy part of our world, is we can get validation like that video on anything. We can be
it's your algorithms. Absolutely.
You can think it's a brown purse, a white purse is wrong, a black purse is wrong, a red purse is wrong, it's got to be a brown purse.
Right.
Learning the awkwardness generational of working through understanding this is my experience for people understanding people's identity kind of components in life. For older people like me, and I'm fairly, hip, I understand this stuff, right? But I know some people I talk to, they have no clue. They have they all they understand, because that's what they were inundated with, influenced with, boy, girl, boy, girl. And that's not saying it's bad, but we live in a Western culture, and I see it every day in my work. We have people that say, respectfully, they say, you know what? If you're going to address me, this is how I'd like you to address me. And I'm not saying I think that's right or wrong, so leave that. But if I'm not going to be an influencer unless I'm a dick. But our show is about influencing people, influence our group through our stories and experience, and we totally believe it's in a positive way.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so when you apply it to your personal journey, just, look at the source, look at, and if it's something like all that stuff that you're just talking about, like I come from a generation, I'm sure most of us do, where you always had a second opinion. You never faithfully, there was a time, here's a fun fact. I don't know if it's fun, but when I was about 7 or 8, my doctor thought I had something internal where he was going to do surgery on me, and he was so good, and he told my dad, I want you to go to a different doctor and get a second opinion. And my dad got a second opinion. I was fine. I never ended up needing that surgery. So it's so interesting how, like saying about our mom only watching Fox News, you have to open yourself up to beat that. Like those algorithms, frankly, are a pain in the ass, because they just fill everything. And like I watch a lot of Canadian stuff. I don't have cable. We have, our own perspectives on a lot of things, which is great. But sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, this algorithm. And then I start watching more things to change the tide. Do you know what I mean? So this is where, a lot of times when you think about people who have influenced you through your life, a lot of times it ties in with limited beliefs, right? So when you think of those people and you think about where you're at today, and it's not were they good or a bad influence, but was it true and did it serve me well, right? Like all those things. And you even just think about when we were raised, and I'm assuming we're all exactly the same age, when we were raised, cigarettes were everywhere. You could smoke everywhere. It was on the signage. It was in the movies, right? That was all acceptable. With a lot of us, I'm going to say with me, seeing all that was part and parcel of me starting to smoke. But then when I realized that influence didn't serve me well, then 17 years later, I ended up quitting smoking, but the world had changed around me. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's important as well, because when you're thinking about your mental wellness and you're thinking about confidence, self-esteem, that wanting to change like filing your teeth down, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
All that stuff, when you think about all the stuff that influences you, your self-worth, everything else, blame, shame, it is important to see who you're being influenced by. And when you're being, going back to social media, like I've really limited. So like in the Canadian politics, I go in, I see what's going on, and then I come out, right? So like I've literally limited my exposure, because it sucks the life out of me, and it's hard for me to be joyful Michelle when I want to just call people bad names and say bad things. So I reined myself in, but it took me a while of thinking, oh, why am I so tired every day? Why do I feel so sluggish and uninterested and whatever? Well, it's because I'm hanging out with negative Nellie and Debbie Downer. Sorry, Nellie and Debbie, right? But it does, and it's just like when I was saying, you're the average of your 4 people that surround you. So if you're 5 people, right, you're the average. So are you hanging out with people that lift you up? Are you hanging out with people that when you have something really good, happy, like, and you're really happy, are they, you know, having that, oh, you're so lucky, or good for you, Tom, you worked hard. I'm glad you got that bonus because you earned it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's right. And so those things are very important to just, you know, and I'm not saying that you should disconnect from your mother, your brother, your, you know, your partner, anything like that. But sometimes you just need to tell them. Like you
Yeah.
can't expect you can't expect Teresa to read your mind. And the reality is, and this is why we have to lift ourselves up and why we have to be our own biggest fan, because on the days that you need that the most, they're not going to know. Do you know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
what you're saying about sometimes I'm the same. And it's on the, like, when I have my days off, sometimes I just don't feel like peopling, right? I won't answer the phone, not that it rings very often. Usually it says potential fraud. But I get into those modes, and that's when I need to reset myself. You know what I mean? And do my meditation or watch a Brené Brown movie or something.
And what I think, so I'm going to open, and there's some questions on there which are great, but I'm going to open this up a bit. And again, me and Michelle have shared before, we're pretty on board with everything. We have mutual respect for each other, which is big. But we have we can vary, which is okay. We're not threatened by it, which that place of trust is super important, right?
Yeah.
So I think, and I don't think with you, but when you're saying that, I'm going to reference back to this documentary on Disney about Jimmy Jonestown.
Yeah.
At some point, the people that stayed, because some people tried to leave when the congressman went and all this stuff, there was people out of fear didn't use their common sense, right? And so our fear, so Michelle said something that's really important for her mental wellness when you think about this. If you you don't want to live in a place, you want to be wise, and if things trigger you or suck your soul, you got to be wise to that, right? But if you live in fear or paranoia, you want to be careful, right? I'm going to use my wife, who will be here soon. I was telling Michelle, our son, it's his big graduation dinner and then dry grad tonight, so it's going to be late and crazy, right? But my wife cannot watch war, anything not scary, which she doesn't want scary, but if some like a drama and like Criminal Mind, any of this stuff, she can't watch it. Like it just amps her, right?
Right.
And so she doesn't just watch Dumbo, but she's a book reader, and so she's realized how to reset. And she works with probation, so she works with difficult, challenging people every day, right? Not her work people, the clients. So I wrote down this thing, and this is what do you think about this? And first of all, I want to say, I think Lisa, thank you about asking about the link. Michelle will post it.
I will. I'll send it to you, Lisa.
And Michelle sent to me because I always ask.
Yep.
Here's what I would encourage you. And Michelle kind of shared, she did this and that. If you share this with your teenagers, just because of the kind of the climate we in, most of our teenagers are, don't tell me what to do, I'm an adult type thing, right? I've learned more and more through counseling people that I invite them into dialogue. So I ask them, so what did you think about that? And when you start to find out, like the moms did with the girls, the girls saying, oh no, I watch everything good. And at the end they're going, oh man, I've seen all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the influence, it's like these little bits. So here's the thing I wrote: where you place your trust, it has influence.
Absolutely.
And if you put your trust where you don't have trust, it has no influence. So Michelle, and me and Michelle probably similar. I don't have a lot of trust in politics. it's a compartment of our world, and it's
Right.
whatever. But I just don't know how many times we've seen majority men, by the way, that this thing about power, and everybody promises to do something good, but this thing about power, and now it's men and women in politics now, but even in big corporate companies, like there's just this thing about like it shifts and shapes your good intentions. And when I was a little kid in Toronto, Scarborough, I was working at a place called Toronto Metro News, and it was I was 15, and it was a place that distributed magazines and books. And anyways, it was in I can't remember what road it was on. Anyways, so there was a light, four corners, and then where my warehouse was like on the block, and not even a block away, like it would be like basically walking across the street type thing, a little bit more, was the GM, I think it was Ford, a brand new Ford facility.
Okay.
So Ford, their people were complaining that when they would go to work, they couldn't turn in. It would take forever to turn in because it was busy. It was
Sure.
it wasn't Don Valley, whatever road, it was a busy road, right? So they said, like, we need another set of lights in. They go, no, we just put one there. So you know what Ford did? This is, like I said, 45 years ago. They laid off the whole plant until they put a light in.
Wow.
So if you want to know who controls politics a lot,
Absolutely. I didn't really watch until I couldn't afford groceries anymore. Just saying.
and so the thing is, on the flip side, the negative side, and this is what the video didn't like beat it up, and they did such a good job.
Yeah.
The toxicity
Yes.
that you like I just watched, I said, the Jonestown 2 days ago, right?
Yeah.
And I was surprised how people would let to go down that far. But we would all say common sense. We would go like, how do our girls online? How do like blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
How do we get kind of sucked in? So Michelle says, we're gonna use our brains.
Yep.
And honestly, we talk about referencing. If you want to, everybody does this, by the way. Do you use Dr. Google for your symptoms?
No. No, and I'll tell you why. When I found out I had this rare lung disorder, so I joined this group on Facebook. It's the Alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency group or something. And then I joined it. I joined a COPD group, whatever, not exactly the same. Then I joined this group, and very interesting. I learned a lot. Then I started getting terrified. I've actually turned the notifications off simply because, it's way, and I'm very healthy and very, I manage my condition very well. And when I met my doctor for the first time, he told me my situation, and I told him I would accept my diagnosis, but not my prognosis, and that I was going to be the miracle he's going to talk about for the rest of his career. So when I read that stuff, lung transplants, people like just like sad states, that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to stay in the group, but I've turned off the notifications. I pop in if I want to see if like there's no, like my cheeks are really red sometimes. There's a skin part to this. Oh joy. So like I look that up. So like I go on the page, I know how to use search, and hi Teresa. I know
Hi,
how
Teresa.
I know how to use search. I looked, I found out, yes, this is normal. And then I get out again. So you're exactly right. And that's why I will not go on Google and try to self-diagnose, because it's very depressing.
See, I would bet 80% of the people go on Dr. Google.
Oh, totally.
I would say. And here's the challenge. Dr. Google, you can have a fever and chest pains and whatever, and those 2, 3, 4 symptoms could be on 10 things. And it's like hearing, it's like I'm not a mechanic. I go bring my car to people, right?
Right.
But you go to a mechanic, or you hear go ping, ping, ping. Go, what's wrong with my car? Well, maybe the wheel's gonna fall off, or it's gonna blow. Like
Absolutely.
but we live in a world. I was laughing, Michelle. You're gonna laugh at this. So we're on Zoom, right?
Yep.
Okay, and this is a little creepy for me, but it's okay. On the bottom, if you put your mouse up, it's got AI companion. You see it?
Probably.
It's got a little star, little makes it the color stands out more. And see what we're talking before about algorithms.
Oh, I do.
See, we don't use AI, by the way. We're real people.
We are.
But we're almost, to some degree, following. We're going down this rabbit hole that is probably going to have consequence at some point. So, like Michelle said, that video you shared was so good because the parents, the moms, and the daughters, by the way, too, they didn't think what they were watching online had that much influence.
That's right.
And see, and the girls, remember the redheaded girl? She goes, "Oh, that's on everything I watch."
Yeah, absolutely.
And even though she looked like a young, good-looking young lady, whatever, that eventually will, to some degree, influence you.
It certainly will. And you know what? It's planting a seed. So let's say the grinding your teeth off. So she sees that, doesn't really pay attention. Then she's out I don't know, in the lunchroom. She hears somebody else talking about it, plants the seed. See what I mean? So now we're verified. We got a 2-point verification going on. Then she sees it somewhere else. So and then at some point she's like, well, I know I heard it before, so it must be right. And next thing you know, bam, right? She's making some bad decisions.
Well, look at even a few years back, they had that whole, well, it's still going on, but body shame, especially with our young girls, right? And body shame. And then so all of a sudden you had these magazines, not that I've seen them, but I know I've read about stuff.
Sure.
You had these large plus models and stuff like that. But here's and there's a part of it that I understand that, and you know, great high five, right? But there's a part of that that's manipulating those people to buy their products.
That's right.
And that's the challenge on it. And that's, like I said, you know, where you place your trust, and there's influence. My wife's here, she's over the side, she's being quiet. She's making me dinner at some point, or us dinner. But we were talking earlier. Dinner. Michelle has said hi to you twice now. Michelle, she says hi. She's being quiet, so we do a show, right?
Fine. I've never seen her quiet.
But Michelle said earlier, like we talked about resetting, creating space in your day just to breathe, just to like get the noise and the clutter, right? And so part of the benefit of that is it actually helps you have a bit of a sound mind. So my wife likes she'll climb up a mountain or go on a hike or go for a walk. If she could do it as a job for 8 hours a day, she would do it.
$5 a mile.
There you go, $5 a mile. There is a cleansing in her where it's a benefit to her body for sure, but mentally. That's and right. it takes the noise out, right? One of my favorite movies. So I'm not going to talk about Hook this week again, people. I don't know if anybody watched it. But there is a movie. Have you seen A Knight's Tale?
Yeah, but a long time ago.
A Knight's Tale. Who was the main actor who's passed away?
Blonde guy, right? From Fast and Furious.
The guy that played Batman.
Yeah.
What?
Oh.
Heath Ledger.
Yes, thank you.
So
thank you, voice in the back.
There's one funny part in the movie. The movie's hilarious. It's cool. Like whoever wrote it was just awesome. Great current music and whatever, right? And but it's back in the whole days of knights and all that stuff, right? So they're going. The one guy wants to be a knight, but we have to watch it, right? But they're walking down. So the only nude scene in is a bear bum. And they're walking down, they see this guy who just lost all of his clothes and whatever in whatever dice or gambling they did back then, right? And I'm glad my wife's here. What did he say? What was he doing when he was walking? He was saying that he was trudging, or sorry, he lost his stuff. He's going one way in the road, they're going another way in the road. Again, it's a funny movie. And they're going like, dude, why are you naked? And he was almost saying, I can't think of the word. He goes like, I just needed time to be alone and I need to think. But there was another word he did. I can't remember the word, right?
Right.
And go back to influencers. If we don't take time just to like take care of ourselves, whatever that looks like, we are so easily influenced.
That's right.
Who's not influenced by Amazon? Not that I believe her. No, she's fine.
I'm sitting on my hands.
Yeah. Now, using Amazon is not a bad thing. It probably saves money. There's some value. But if you can't live without Amazon and you need to spend, like I told you guys, I have like probably 75 shirts in my closet.
Right.
I need to, and I can validate it for myself. I say, well, you know, when I lose more weight, blah, 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 right? And there's truth in it, but I'm not fooling myself.
That's right.
So back to influencers, watching politics now, you don't got cable TV, watching, you know, the left versus the right, and this is why they're bad. It's gonna be the second coming of this and that. At the end of the day, there's no integrity because they're not being authentic with us. They're just pitching policy.
Sure. Exactly right. Yeah, that's right. And I think that goes for everything. And it's so, I find this so interesting because with you and I, because we're so different when it comes to that stuff, like our algorithms, I'm sure, are very opposite of each other. So it makes such an interesting conversation because we're both interested in learning, sharing, and growing, right? And this is where the value is, because once we acknowledge that, like, I'm a YouTuber, I get everything through YouTube, right? Or yeah, a little bit of social media, but not so much. But I'm looking up my own stuff. And then of course through websites, reading like-minded people, that sort of thing. So with us having different influences makes it equally interesting, right? That, you know, just realizing that, you know, look at the source and then how it makes you feel, right? Like that, especially when it comes to personally. Like that whole thing, like, I'm not saying, you know, don't talk to a friend anymore. It says you're lucky. But at the same time, you know, sometimes you need the work you have done to be appreciated as well, or whatever steps got you to salesman of the month, or whatever that looks like, right?
And maybe what might be interesting, not saying we have to do it next week, but a part 2 to this is how do we navigate. Again, see, everything what we talk about is about being honest, right? How do we navigate our perspective or perception of the things that influence us?
Yeah.
Because I would bet there's a bunch of people in the group. Thank you for joining us. I would bet every one of us, there'd be no exceptions. I'm telling you this. If we were to say our convictions in ABC, whatever it is, it could be food, it could be life, it could be music, it could be work, politics, religion, whatever, right? Because we would never promote the things that we know that might be shady, right?
Right.
But
right.
We would all, with our conviction, say blah blah blah, and it's like politics is a perfect one. Oh, I'm NDP. No, I'm liberal. I'm conservative. Well, this is why. And some people go, I don't even know. I don't. This guy he takes care of the forest, or this guy takes care of the poor, right?
Right.
But the things that are our core values, we would fight for a little bit. And the thing I would say, I'm not trying to convert anybody, whatever. Being open-minded and getting information for the most important things are important. The video again, so good, Michelle. Seeing what influences our kids. Like I think of my son who's 18. And he's just a gamer, and he watches guys on YouTube. When I was going to interview him, he was going to talk about the guys he watches on YouTube, and he's like no big deal, right? My 12-year-old granddaughter, I'm not sure, and she's in a vulnerable place and stuff. So what information, what are the things that are impacting her? What are things they're telling her this is good and maybe not good, right?
Exactly right.
And part of it, I was going to say, is with the girls, like they're saying, they did go into it actually really good. The girls is self-worth,
right?
Self-value.
That's right. And the illusion of becoming a person that's not real. Because the reality is, if I went to the store and I picked up a magazine and I looked at the supermodel on it and I went to her house and I knocked on her door, I would not recognize her when she answered, because they're photoshopped and this, that, and the other thing, right? Especially now that they do those deep fakes. So, it's the target that these girls are questing for is such an illusion. And if I can just circle back briefly, I mentioned about Xavier, and we didn't have the same talk because he just really plays games. But I'm going to tell you, as the documentary junkie I am, I watched this documentary on these two girls, two 13-year-olds who bludgeoned another 13-year-old to death. And they were watching one of those video game people, like it's just a regular kid or whatever, playing a game, and they were watching the game, and the kid started talking about Slender Man. Do you know who that is?
No.
It's an illusional made up character that visits you in your dreams or something.
Nice.
So here they are in their youth. They hear it from a gaming kid who just makes an offbeat comment about that character. Then they looked up YouTube videos on the character. Then they were under the illusion that that character was looking in their window and instructed them to do this act. And so it went from some kid making a couple sentences about, this character, and it ended up in this terrible thing. And talk about influencing, because they were feeding off each other. And as these young girls are being interviewed, because I like to watch the interviews and stuff because I'm such a nerd. But as they're being interviewed, the one, like basically all of them said, well, we didn't really want to do it, but the other one wanted to do it. And then they're like, well, I didn't bail because she didn't bail. Like, you see, nobody spoke out and said, Hillary, is this a good idea or whatever? They just fed into it. And that actually she might have lived. Now that I think about it, I feel like maybe she ended up being okay much later. But like, oh my gosh, that's all their lives ruined, right?
Yeah.
The victim, those two, and I think they're out now, and that's going to carry, because they were minors, so that's going to carry them through their whole life. Somebody's going to remember that. Like, so, I mean, it's the whole thing. It was the influencer they believed, then the whatever they researched, and then influencing each other. Like, what a mess.
And that's like we said earlier, like Michelle had said to ourselves earlier, that I think we've done a great job. We're not going to use this platform to influence in a place of politics or influence in a place of faith, whatever that means to you, whatever, right? Because that guy gaming, he's gaining the trust of the person watching.
Exactly.
And he's throwing out. So this is, and I got a couple things to share, then I think we'll call it a night. That's okay.
Sure.
So, and then you finish up if you have anything ready at the end.
Okay, I will in a minute.
So here's what happens is I was thinking of this example years ago. Somebody said, how do you boil a frog? And you don't have a boiling pot of water and throw a frog in, he'll jump out. But what you do is you put a frog in lukewarm water, which you used to, and you slowly turn up the heat and it won't jump out, right? So there's this kind of theology or this thought process and this is like I mentioned about Jonestown, that, you know what, like like this was really good at the beginning and this and like, and
Yeah.
we'll just overlook. I mean, you talk about predators online that are predicating our girls, right?
Right.
Our girls. No, yeah, just between you and me, just a little. Like, come on, I'm in, 45 or 50-year-old dude that's turning 12, right? So we live in this place of it just a little bit more, right? Sales does that all the time. It drives me nuts where like car salesmen, and they get a bad rap, but a lot of them have learned this process of upselling you. I hate it. But here, I'm going to finish with this, and then you come up with what you said. So a couple things we said at the beginning. Never underestimate the influence you have on others. You have influence on others if you like it or not.
That's right.
Unless you live in a box and Amazon leaves food at the door, and so does Skip the Dishes. Then you're getting influence from social media or whatever, right?
That's right.
Where you place your trust, it has influence, and that's not a bad thing. But again, we want to use wisdom. See, our kids, we've got time. We're old. We've been through a lot, and what's happening with our kids today? We're old, Michelle. Sorry, telling you the truth, but our kids today don't have the advantage we have of living through generations.
Yeah.
And they have this generation. So we can share our experience and wisdom.
Right.
But talking about teenagers again, they want to figure out life on their own. They really don't want to be told what to do. So as a parent, 12 and 13 is different to 18, but how do we navigate that, right? So then the other thing I said is toxicity. If Michelle's great example saying, I had to go shut all this stuff off. I had to take 5 minutes, focus on myself, get some sunshine, right? If you don't realize there's toxicity, the guys that I work with, I'm basically trying to take up the poison in their mind, and our young girls too, because if they have to try to live up to this image that's not even real, right? And then the other one I wrote down, I don't know if we talked about this. I think we've hit it on it several times, but the authentic self.
Oh, yeah. We were going to make that a topic, actually.
Was it one of our topics, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
It's important. Like I use this example. I need to look in the mirror. I don't like to look in the mirror. I look like I'm okay, but we see our flaws, right? Remember the Dove commercial you shared before?
I just thought of that.
We see the mole, we see the fat face, right?
That's right.
And the authentic self has to be able to look beyond a surface thing. It has to be able to look at yourself and say, hey, like I'm really good with this. I'm compassionate, I'm kind. So I'm speaking of you. All I think about is the wellness of others. You stay away from negativity, right? Yep. And then we have to be willing to look at the things that we want to be, better, our wellness. That's why we do this show, right? So we want to look at, some people will hide that. They'll go, oh, well, they'll live with this thing, and that's okay. I'm not driven to be better, but I want to be honest with myself. Like my examples of, if I want this surgery I need to lose 30 pounds. The surgeon's not going to do it. So if I could be honest, not beat myself up. And so learning our authentic self and then walking up the truth of that is important.
I agree. I'm making a note with my glasses on. That'll be interesting. Okay. But no, I completely agree. All the way. Good job, Tom. Hey, Tom, put up one hand. Put up the other hand. Together at the same time. Now high five yourself. Good job.
Hey, love you guys. Thank you for joining us. We had a great group on. You can also watch the video on YouTube once Michelle puts it up.
See how I influenced you there?
Yeah, she influenced me there. She took advantage of my trust in her. But you know what? We say this every time. Here's one thing we believe. Be a product of who you are. Go show kindness to somebody this week. Go, even if here's what it is. If you've got a spouse, a partner, kids, people in your family, don't do it right this second. Go compliment them on something that's true and that's real, and go remind them, like Michelle says all the time, that you're awesome.
That's right.
But go have an honest, just say, hey, I might not say this all the time, but you know what? I really appreciate whatever it is.
I really like this about you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's right.
Do you
That's
have
one
a-
of the good things about texting as well, right? Text a positive
Yeah.
thing, like even thinking about you today.
Yeah. Now, do you have a quote for us?
No.
So
Okay.
make one up.
Okay, so you don't know what you don't know until you know, and then you know.
You stole some of mine.
Mic drop.
So
Well, you influenced me.
I'm throwing my little quote in.
Okay.
I stole it from Bill and Ted's audacious, excellent thing. I actually tell some of my church people, I said, in Bill and Ted 1:1, so I make it like a Bible verse. I go, what are you talking about? It says this: be excellent to each other. That's what the movie's about.
Okay, I got one too.
Okay.
Joe Dirt. Keep on keeping on.
Who's that?
Joe Dirt.
Right.
Joe Dirt.
Joe
Joe
Dirt.
Dirte. Joe Dirte.
I was actually had a picture of the Fabulous Freak Brothers.
There you go.
Okay, we better go. Thank you, everybody,
right,
for joining us. Have a
everybody,
great day.
Thanks for
Next week.
putting up with Tom. I know it's a chore sometimes, but
Thanks for putting up
doing
with me.
that.
Okay.
And we'll see everybody next week. Stay awesome.
Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
I gotta find what I'm doing now. Very good.